At 2:38 a.m., Karen's phone rang, startling her awake. She fumbled for it in the darkness, her husband snoring beside her, undisturbed. "Hello," she rasped. "Karen, it's Bethany." Her closest friend and fellow social committee chair sounded panicked. "You need to delete that post about Marcus Chen right now." Karen sat up, suddenly alert. "What? Why? It's the middle of the night. My husband just woke me up. He's on the hospital board with Chen's mother, Dr. Lin Chen, the neurosurgeon. The whole family is incredibly connected. The post is being shared in legal circles with people calling it textbook defamation." "Karen, you accused him of impersonating a lawyer." Karen's stomach knotted. "I never actually said. You implied it. And that's enough. Charles says you could be liable for hundreds of thousands in damages." After hanging up, Karen rushed to her home office, opening her laptop with shaking hands. She navigated to her blog, intending to delete the post, only to find hundreds of new comments had appeared since she'd gone to bed. "Marcus Chen helped my disabled sister win against corporate discrimination. This post is disgusting. Marcus Chen volunteers at my son's adaptive sports league. Is this the same Karen Wilcox who tried to get my brother fired from the country club for being too ethnic?" The last comment had over 50 responses, each sharing similar stories. Karen frantically deleted the post, but screenshots were already circulating. Worse, her editing history was visible to her subscribers. Minus 31,000 people could see exactly what she'd written and then tried to hide. As dawn broke, Karen paced her marble kitchen, phone pressed to her ear. "Janet, I don't care if he's not in the office yet. This is an emergency. I need the firm's top defamation attorney." A text from Bethany flashed on her screen. "Turn on channel 7 now." Karen fumbled for the remote, nearly dropping it as she switched on the kitchen television. There was Sophia Lin, the elegant news anchor, introducing her segment. "This morning, we continue our special investigation into accessibility discrimination in our county's most exclusive venues. Our team has uncovered disturbing patterns of ADA violations and discriminatory practices targeting disabled individuals." The camera cut to footage of familiar locations: the country club, the marina, the luxury boutique mall, all places where Karen held committee positions or social influence. "Many community members have come forward with personal accounts," Sophia continued, her expression professional but determined. The screen displayed a message: "If you have experienced discrimination or witnessed ADA violations, contact our investigative team." Karen sank into a kitchen chair, her legs suddenly weak. This couldn't be connected to yesterday's incident, could it? The timing seemed too coincidental, but surely a respected news anchor wouldn't pursue a personal vendetta. Her phone chimed with a text from Richard. "Commissioner, emergency meeting called. Someone leaked your blog post to the entire county board. Don't talk to anyone until our lawyer arrives." As if on cue, the doorbell rang. Karen peered through the peephole to see a courier holding a large envelope. With trembling fingers, she signed for the delivery and tore it open in the privacy of her foyer. "Notice of NTNT to FILE Civil Action," the heading read in bold letters. As she skimmed the document, phrases jumped out at her: malicious defamation, pattern of discriminatory behavior, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The final page contained a personal note in precise handwriting. "Ms. Wilcox, litigation can be avoided. My office is open to discussion until Friday. Marcus Chen." Outside her window, Karen noticed a news van slowly cruising down her street. 6 months after that pivotal meeting in Marcus's office, Karen stood in the small break room of the Veterans Rehabilitation Center, washing out her coffee mug. The ceramic cup, a far cry from her former collection of designer porcelain, was chipped along the rim, with "Thank you for your service" printed in fading letters. It had been a gift from Miguel, a young veteran who had lost both legs in combat. Karen had initially dreaded these mandatory hours, viewing them as punishment. Now, 3 months past her required commitment, she continued to volunteer twice weekly. The irony wasn't lost on her, finding genuine purpose in a place she'd been forced to go. Mrs. Wilcox. A hesitant voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned to find Darius, a recent arrival to the center, balancing precariously on his new prosthetic. The van's here for the field trip, but I'm not sure I can manage the steps yet. 6 months ago, Karen would have found his problem inconvenient, possibly even irritating. Now she smiled and reached for her jacket. Let's see if we can figure it out together, and please call me Karen. Outside, Marcus was helping his brother James into the specially equipped van. He nodded at Karen, their relationship still formal, but no longer adversarial. They had spoken only a handful of times since the settlement, each interaction professional and brief. As the van pulled away for the center's monthly movie outing, Karen's phone buzzed. It was a text from her daughter. Finished finals. Coming home this weekend. Proud of you, Mom. Tears pricked at Karen's eyes. After the media firestorm, her daughter had refused to speak to her for weeks. Their reconciliation had been slow, painful, and ongoing, much like Karen's journey to rebuild her life from the ashes of her former existence. Richard had moved out permanently. Their divorce quietly finalized last month. Her social circle had evaporated, invitations ceased, former friends crossing the street to avoid her. The initial shock and humiliation had been nearly unbearable. But something unexpected had emerged from the wreckage. Without the exhausting performance of perfection, without the constant jockeying for social position, Karen had discovered a simpler, more authentic way of living. Later that evening, after the veterans returned from their outing, Karen found a folded note in her volunteer cubby. Mrs. Wilcox, it read in Marcus's precise handwriting, "Our 6-month review of your community service has concluded. Your official obligation to the settlement is now complete. The accessibility improvements at the community businesses have been implemented successfully, and your financial contributions have been properly allocated. From a legal standpoint, our business is concluded. I've observed your work here at the center. My brother speaks highly of your recent efforts. Should you wish to continue volunteering, that would be your choice alone. Regardless of your decision, I believe this case has achieved its intended purpose. Respectfully, Marcus Chen." Karen folded the note carefully and placed it in her wallet, next to the worn photograph of her daughter. Outside the center's windows, snow had begun to fall, transforming the parking lot where countless veterans struggled daily with mobility challenges. The same parking lot where, for the first time in her adult life, Karen now conscientiously parked in the general section, leaving the accessible spaces for those who truly needed them. Karen's fingers trembled as she took the business card. The embossed lettering seemed to mock her. Marcus Chen, Senior Partner, Chen and Associates, Civil Rights and ADA Compliance. Her mind raced frantically, calculating the social and legal implications of her mistake. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said, her voice suddenly honeyed. The salon had gone quiet, every eye watching the unfolding drama. "I'm a huge supporter of accessibility rights. My mother-in-law uses a walker." Marcus nodded politely, but said nothing, his silence more damning than any retort. The salon manager, Elena, crossed her arms and fixed Karen, with a look that suggested their long-standing arrangement of preferential treatment might be in jeopardy. "Your appointment will be another 40 minutes, Karen," Elena said coolly. "Mr. Chen, would you like some coffee while you wait for your meeting?" Karen watched in disbelief as Elena personally escorted Marcus to the plush waiting area, offering him the salon's premium espresso, a courtesy Karen had always assumed was reserved exclusively for VIP clients like herself. "I'll wait," Karen announced loudly, claiming the remaining seat in the waiting area, deliberately placing her designer bag on the small table between them. She pulled out her phone and began typing furiously, occasionally glaring in Marcus's direction. From across the salon, Mia whispered to another stylist, $10 says she's Googling him right now." She was right. Karen's manicured finger scrolled through search results, her eyes widening at each new discovery. Marcus Chen wasn't just any attorney. He had argued before the state Supreme Court, had been featured in National Law Review, and most alarmingly, had recently won a $4.2 million judgment against Riverside County for systematic ADA violations. Karen's throat tightened, Her husband's position on the county commission suddenly seemed less like a shield and more like a target. She switched tactics, opening her Instagram and surreptitiously snapping a photo of Marcus, or pretending to check her makeup. Within minutes, she had texted the image to her husband with the message, "Need info on this guy ASAP. Legal problem at salon." Marcus appeared absorbed in reviewing documents, but missed nothing. Years of deposition work had taught him to observe without seeming to watch. He noted Karen's furtive photography, her rapid texting, the way her body language shifted between defensive and aggressive postures. His phone vibrated with a text from his law partner. "Heads up. Richard Wilcox just called Judge Sanderson asking about you. Seems his wife sent him your photo." Marcus suppressed a smile. Judge Sanderson had been his mentor in law school. Karen's phone chimed with her husband's response. Her face fell as she read, "That's Marcus Chen. Do you not antagonize him? He destroyed Commissioner Phillips last year in that discrimination case. I'll be home late. Damage control with the ethics committee. No backup coming then." Karen's mind raced, formulating a new approach. She slid her chair closer to Marcus, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Mr. Chen, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I respect your work tremendously." She flashed the smile that had charmed countless matrons into producing last-minute reservations. "Perhaps we could discuss this over dinner. My husband and I host a fundraiser for children with disabilities every year." Marcus regarded her with the neutral expression he reserved for hostile witnesses attempting to repair their testimony. "That's very kind, Ms. Wilcox, but I'll have to decline. Professional ethics." Before Karen could respond, her phone lit up with a notification. One of her followers had identified Marcus from her Instagram story and commented, That's the lawyer who helped my brother sue his employer. Changed our lives." Karen hurriedly deleted the post, but it was too late. The digital trail was established, and Marcus Chen, who had built his career on documentation and evidence, had just added another exhibit to his mental file. "You people." Marcus's eyebrow raised slightly. "What exactly do you mean by that, Ms. Wilcox?" Karen clutched her designer handbag tighter, her knuckles whitening. "I don't have to explain myself to you. This is harassment." A small crowd had begun to gather in the busy plaza parking lot. An elderly couple paused with their shopping bags. A teenager stopped his skateboard, pulling out his phone. Marcus's brother James remained silent in his wheelchair, his military posture evident despite his seated position. "Actually," Marcus said, his voice remaining measured but taking on a subtle edge of authority, "under State Code 38-115.4, unauthorized use of a handicapped parking space carries a $250 fine, plus potential vehicle towing at owner's expense." Karen rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh please, are you some kind of rent-a-cop now? You can't enforce anything." From behind them, a deep voice called out, "But I can, ma'am." Karen turned to see Officer Ramirez approaching, his patrol car now visible at the plaza entrance. The officer had been getting coffee at the deli next door when he'd noticed the commotion. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, though his eyes had already taken in the situation: the illegally parked Range Rover, the man in the wheelchair unable to access the ramp, the gathering crowd. Karen's demeanor changed instantly. Her voice softened to a siroopy tone as she touched her hair self-consciously. "Officer, I'm so glad you're here. This man has been harassing me. I just stopped for a quick appointment, and he's making such a scene." Officer Ramirez looked from Karen to Marcus, then to James in his wheelchair. Recognition flickered in his eyes. "Mr. Chen? I didn't expect to see you here today. I thought you were in court this morning." Marcus shook his head. "Case was continued, taking my brother to physical therapy instead." Karen's expression faltered as she watched the exchange. "You two know each other?" The officer turned back to Karen. "Ma'am, Mr. Chen is one of the most respected attorneys in this district. He's helped implement half the accessibility laws I enforce." He gestured to her vehicle. "I'm going to need to see your license and registration." "This is ridiculous." Karen sputtered, her face flushing. "Do you have any idea who my husband is?" Marcus stepped back, giving Officer Ramirez space to do his job. The small camera on his lapel continued recording as Karen became increasingly agitated, her voice rising as she threatened to call the police commissioner, the mayor, anyone who might override this absurd harassment campaign against her. James looked up at Marcus with a knowing expression. "Another one who thinks the rules don't apply to her," he murmured. Marcus nodded silently. He'd seen this pattern countless times in his 15-year legal career advocating for disability rights. The entitlement, the indignation when called out, the threats and intimidation tactics. As Officer Ramirez wrote out the citation, Karen jabbed a finger toward Marcus. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Marcus smiled slightly, his expression calm but determined. "Actually, Ms. Wilcox, I believe it's the other way around." Behind them, someone in the crowd quietly clapped, and Karen's humiliation transformed into cold, calculated rage. She snatched the ticket from Officer Ramirez's hand and stormed toward the salon, already plotting her revenge against the unassuming man who had dared to stand up to her. What she didn't know was that Marcus Chen had faced down corporate legal teams, corrupt politicians, and systemic discrimination his entire career. And he never, ever backed down from a fight worth fighting. ## Part 4. The consequences continued. Karen slammed her bedroom door and sank to the floor, her back against the expensive oak panels. Outside in their circular driveway, 3 more news vans had joined the first. Her phone had been ringing nonstop until she'd finally turned it off. The doorbell chimed again, the 5th time in an hour. Richard had stopped answering it after the second reporter thrust a microphone in his face, asking for comment on his wife's history of discriminatory behavior and whether it reflected the values of the county commission. How could this happen so quickly? Karen whispered to herself, pulling her knees to her chest. Just yesterday, she'd been at the top of her carefully constructed social pyramid. Now the foundation was crumbling beneath her. Her laptop chimed with an incoming email. Despite her better judgment, Karen crawled to the bed and opened it. The message was from Diane Ellsworth, chair of the Meadowbrook Charity Foundation. "Emergency board meeting results attached. Please respect our decision." With trembling fingers, Karen opened the attachment. "Dear Mrs. Wilcox, in light of recent allegations and the evidence presented to the board regarding your conduct toward vulnerable community members, we have unanimously voted to remove you from your position as fundraising chair, effective immediately." Karen didn't finish reading. She couldn't bear to see the names of her friends who had signed it, women who had sipped champagne in this very room just weeks ago, laughing at her jokes and seeking her approval. A soft knock at the bedroom door. "Karen." Richard's voice sounded strained, unfamiliar. "The lawyer's here." Downstairs in Richard's study, a grave-faced woman in an impeccable suit laid out documents on the antique desk. "The situation is worse than we initially thought," she said without preamble. "Mr. Chen has compiled evidence spanning 5 years. Witness statements, security footage, social media posts, text messages. How could he possibly have gathered all this in one day?" Richard demanded. The lawyer gave him a measured look. "He didn't. According to my sources, Mr. Chen has been building cases against discriminatory practices at elite establishments for years. Your wife's blog post simply connected her publicly to incidents he'd already documented." Karen felt dizzy. "What incidents? I've never discriminated against anyone." The lawyer slid a folder across the desk. Inside were statements from service workers, security guards, receptionists, people Karen barely remembered encountering. "The parking attendant you had fired from the country club for being too slow, a man with a documented disability. The receptionist you reported at your dermatologist's office for incompetence, a woman with hearing impairment. The housekeeper you accused of stealing, a non-English speaker unable to defend herself." Each incident was meticulously documented with dates, times, witnesses, and outcomes. Many included screenshots of Karen's own texts or emails demanding someone be terminated or disciplined. "But these are just everyday interactions," Karen protested weakly. "Everyone gets frustrated with poor service." The lawyer's expression remained impassive. The pattern, Mrs. Wilcox, suggests otherwise. And Mr. Chen has evidence that you specifically targeted vulnerable individuals, then leveraged your husband's position to escalate consequences against them. Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face ashen. The governor is requesting my resignation, he whispered. Effective immediately. Outside, camera flashes illuminated the darkening windows as more reporters arrived. Inside, the carefully constructed illusion of Karen's perfect life continued to shatter into irreparable pieces.